guys, welcome back to the shop. This will be another episode of SNS. I believe it's 21 now. And my name's Adam. So got a few things to talk about, and got another viewer appreciation item that showed up today, and I'm going to share that with you. So I've got some footage from a little job that I did here in the shop this week, and I'm going to share that with you on this SNS. A little job that I had to do. Made some pretty good videos, so we're going to use that for our project this week. And what else I got for you? Public announcement, I guess. So next weekend, which will be weekend of June 6th, I won't be here. I'm going to be over in Tifton, Georgia, hanging out with Keith Rucker. He's having a little get-together over there at the it's the museum that he works at. Now I'm trying to remember the name of it. The Agriculture Museum over in Tifton, Georgia. And he invited everybody to come out, whoever wanted to. And we're going to be working on an Oliver table saw. So I decided it'd be a nice little weekend to get over there and do a little meet and greet with him and whoever else shows up, and play around with some old machines, and maybe even get to do a little machine work over there on his machines. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be nice to get away from here for a couple days and, you know, see a different area and meet some other fellow machinist enthusiasts and meet Keith. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. He did an announcement on one of his videos, if you want to go check that out. He also has been posting up a few videos of some preliminary work that he's been doing on this table saw to try to get it ready for the weekend that everybody's going to show up and help work on it. So he's been doing a little bit of machine work on it, trying to get things done, so that I think he's wanting to try to get everything finished so that the weekend of the build, maybe everything can get finished and put it back together. So anyway, check out his channel if you don't know about Keith Rucker. He's got some great videos on YouTube, and a lot of good old school stuff like we all like to see. So just keep that in mind. That'll be coming up next weekend, and I do plan on taking the GoPros with me and getting some video of my own to make some videos to share on YouTube. And I'm sure Keith's probably going to have his camera rolling also. And I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I will have another video that I will already have produced that I can share that Saturday for you, because I like to try to keep my Saturday videos going. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll have something already in the works for you for that. So all right, so that takes care of that. That's next weekend. So I've got one viewer mail item here that showed up, and I want to share this with you. And if you see here, we got us another Eagle number 66 oiler. There it is, Eagle number 66. And so this comes to us from Ken Goddard, and he is from North Yorkshire, England. So this comes from over the pond. And he wrote me a nice little note here, and said that he loves watching my videos and finds them interesting and very informative and very well made, and he thanks me for that. And he says this oil can turned up at a local flea market, and it's the only one he has ever seen over there, and hope you get some good use out of it. So thank you, Ken. You know that I love the Eagle oilers, and I've got a few of them around here. And what's really unique about this one is I'm almost positive that this spout here, somebody made this spout for this oil can, because Eagle, whenever they make these, whenever they did make them, they made them out of all brass, just like mine I've got. They got a brass spout here that's straight. So somebody has made this, and they made a nice little stainless tip for it that's got a really, really tiny hole in the end of it. So this was probably used for some kind of special purpose, and what it is, I don't know. Maybe they were building something, small intricate things, and they wanted something to be able to get in there and drop a dab of oil in on a gear or something like that. So they made this up themselves. I believe this is just pipe. I'm not really sure. It looks like 1/16 pipe. So somebody made it for a special use there, and I think it might be good also for those the little oil buttons on the machines where you put your weigh oil. It might be good for that, to be able to push that tip down in that little oil button and squirt some weigh oil in there. So I'm going to put a little weigh oil in this, and I'm going to test it out and see if it'll work good for that. So there's one more neat feature about this that I want to point out that I do not have on any of my oil cans, and that's this little lock collar right here on the trigger. You see, it's got a nice little thumb screw, and you can adjust it to wherever you want. And that's actually a nice little feature, because you can adjust this thing and lock it in, and it gives you limited movement on your trigger there. So you regulate the amount of oil that you're squirting every time. And that's just a nice little feature. So again, I think somebody had made this for a special use. That lock collar, that may have been shop made also. Somebody may have made that, because I've never seen one before. You can adjust it really fine and just barely squirt that thing and just have a little drop come out of it. So that's a really cool little oil can, and that's going to be a treasured item in my shop. I'm always going to remember where this come from, Ken. So I really appreciate that, and hope to get some use out of it, and I'll show you me using it every now and then. Put it to some use. Okay, so that's our viewer item for the week, and that's actually it for this week. So I got one more thing I want to show you real quick before we get to the machining footage. Back to Keith Rucker again. He recently did a video about a machinist toolbox that he had purchased off eBay, and that was a cool video, watching him go through the boxes of all those tools from that past machinist that he bought it from, and found a lot of goodies in there. One of the things that he had found was the American Machinist Handbook, and I thought that was really cool, because I have one also, and mine is exactly like Keith Rucker's. It's the 7th edition American Machinist Handbook, and this belonged to my granddad, and he used it for years, and whenever he retired, it ended up in our shop. And we've used it quite a bit. Just like right here on the very first page, he's got gear chart in there, and he's got the page 254 for cutting gears. It gives you a lot of info. So really cool book. It's not something that you go into every day and look and read and get your info, but it is a very nice book to have, and it is fun to look through these books and read them. Got lots of information in there that all of us can enjoy and all of us can use and put to work out here in the shop. So just wanted to share that, though. American Machinist Handbook. I got kind of a quick little funny story to tell on this book here too. Back whenever I was posting pretty heavy on the Machinist forum, I had made a mention in a thread, I don't even remember what it was. I said, yeah, I've got one of the Machinist handbooks, is what I had wrote. And somebody had come back and said, I think what you're referring to is the Machinery's Handbook. And he went on and on saying something else about it, about it's not very valid these days and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that kind of upset me a little bit, because I was talking about the American Machinist Handbook. So I replied back, and I took a picture of it and I posted up there. I said, no, I'm not talking about the Machinery's Handbook. I'm talking about the Machinist Handbook. So there are two out there. So whenever you're scouring the estate sales and yard sales and whatever, you know, look for the American Machinist Handbook. This is a really good one to have. and I just want to share that with you. This was my granddad's. All right, so I think we're going to move on to the project this week. I had a little rotor shaft come in that I had to do a little bit of machine work on. First time I get to show a little bit of steady rest work, so we're going to throw that in there, and I hope you guys enjoy, okay? This is a quick little job I got to do for somebody. It's a brand new armature out of an electric motor, and the end customer, what they wanted, the end of the shaft has a groove, had a groove machined in it. It's for a specific type of coupler that uses 2 rings. They didn't want that groove in it. They wanted it welded up and turned back. So they actually welded, they had somebody weld the end up, and then they brought it to me and asked me if I would turn it. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do, and I don't know what to expect. I'm not sure what to expect out of these welds. And I've also got to go in there and clean the keyway up. Now I noticed some low spots as soon as they set it down. I looked at it. So I went in there and I touched it up with my TIG welder. Try to flow the little, I seen some little valleys where it was tied together. So I'm trying to get it to flow together good. Alright, so we're going to use the new 4-jaw chuck. Let's get this thing running true. And what I did, I put copper soft jaws there to not mess the shaft up. Alright, 1/1000. That's looking like maybe about 2/10. Hard to get it much closer than that. It's about 2 or 3/10 of run out. I'm going to say 1 or 2/10. Let's pull my other indicator out and see how close I am. Okay, I got my 10th indicator out. And the glare is probably going to be pretty bad. I'm reading 1/10 to 1.5 run out. And that was getting it dialed in with just a normal 1-inch travel dial indicator. Not too bad. So we moved the indicator down here to this bearing journal to check it to see how straight it was running, and it wasn't getting good results. We've got approximately 0.02 of run out on this end, and I have to say that's because of the welding that's been done out here on the very end of the shaft. I've tried to tell people for years now, anytime you weld on a shaft like this, it's gonna move some. And a lot of people don't believe me, but but it works. They always want something very simple done. Weld a keyway up and recut it. I said, well, it's going to move it some. It's not going to be perfectly straight. Or a bearing journal will be wore out, and they tell me, just weld that bearing journal up and turn it back down. I said, well, it ain't that simple. Once you weld it up, the area out here is going to warp. It's not going to run true anymore. So what I'm assuming is that this little bit of weld in this groove that was cut here has moved the end of this shaft that much so that it's not running true with the rest of it. Now see, this indicator kind of amplifies it and makes it look worse than it is. That's only 2/1000ths. But I'm having to turn this shaft, this weld needs to true up with all of this and blend together good. So what I'm going to have to do is set up a steady rest, and we'll probably run it right here. There's nothing that goes on this part of the shaft. I'll get the steady rest set up, and then what we got to do is recut that center, and hopefully that's going to bring me close. But every time I do this, you still have a very minute amount of run out with it, you know, holding in the steady rest. Okay, I'm getting the steady rest adjusted. Just want to point out, always make sure your ways are good and clean. Wipe them, and then when you pick the steady rest up, wipe the bottom of those real good. Make sure there's no grit in between those two surfaces. Just getting it set where I want here. Tailstock back in there. Alright. I'm just going to set these. Yeah, you can see it. Just going to set these with it running. Alright, that one's touching. Alright, that one's touching. Alright, I got them set. So, I wish I had roller steady rest for this lathe, but this is how it was built, and it's what I got. It's a little more friction involved, but it works pretty good. You just got to keep some lube there. So next step is I need to set up a little tool, and I got to recut the center here now. Just a quick shot of the indicator after I got the steady rest set. I can see about 1/10 of movement. Alright, what I've got to do is open up that center hole, and then I'm going to go in there with this little boring bar using the compound to cut a true center. Okay. Now, that hole that I just cut there, that center, may be good enough, but oftentimes that whenever that hole is running out a little bit, your center drill follows that run out. So even though you're cutting what looks like a fresh center, you're still getting a little bit of run out. So that's why it's best to turn your compound on 30 degrees, use a little tool, and then come in here like this and actually machine you a true center. Alright, compound set on 30 degrees. I'm going to use the compound for my infeed. Using my Armstrong tool holder. That little bore bar's got a 3/8 shank, so that little holder works perfect for that. Got it adjusted to height. Now I'm going to go in there and cut it. I'll run this in and use the cross slider to feed back, touch off. Okay. You see the chips there on the bar. Now, I'm not running it very fast because that style of steady rest creates a lot of friction on the part, and it'll start growing on you and start binding up. So fresh cut center. So I'll put the live center back in and we'll check it again. Hopefully we're pretty close this time. We'll give it a check and see how close I got it. I'm running a 0.5 off. That's as good as I'm going to get it, and that's where it's going to stay. Alright, let's start cutting. Put me a fresh grind on my tool there. Honed it. I'm running a pretty slow feed rate. The shaft is supposed to be 1 1/8 inches. So that's what we're going to be shooting for. Okay, still got about 35 thousandths to go. Alright, that's showing 9 thousandths. Check it again. Nine thousandths. Yep, and that's right on 1 1/8 inches, 1.125. Yeah, 4. sure I'm not miking any chips there. So we'll take 1, 2, 3. This will go about 3 thousandths. Okay, that's leaving me with about one to go, so I'm going to use some emery to try to bring that down to size. Just about there already. Okay, it's just a couple tenths really. Let me get my fine paper. Okay, we're there. It's right on size. It's okay, you know, I'm still seeing a little bit of my tool marks in there from turning it, so I should have left it just a little bit bigger than what I did. But it feels good. It's the it just sucks you can see the weld beads running along through there. Alright, so I got to go to the milling machine now and run an end mill through that keyway and bring that back to size where the weld is there. Alright, so this little clip's for Joe Uhale. Joe sent me a mason jar full of rub that he makes for meats. It's called Daddy Fatty's Red Dirt Rub. Now I got me some chicken on the grill, and I'm using his rub that he made, and I can't wait to try it out. So I know that it tastes good and it smells good. Can't wait to see what it's like. So thanks, Joe, and putting it to use already. All right, getting this set up, trued up in the mill. Thought I'd show you this. We'll make use of one of these little stare at back punch indicators and check my level. Now all I've done is I set the rotor in there on a parallel, and I held it to where it felt like it was completely flat, and tightened up the vise here. And then I got the back. I just run the machinist jack up to where it touches the end of the shaft just to hold it, and we'll check it and see if I've got it level. And you run this down. Move the handle out of the way. And you can find center this way also if you want. Not center, I mean, you know, top dead center is what I'm talking about there. So we'll use that and run it back and forth here. Okay, well, very little movement at all. maybe a few tenths. So that's level. So next step is to find center of the shaft here. I'll use an edge finder and step it off the center, and then line the keyway up with an end mill and go through here and just clean the weld up. Alright, now I'll find the center using my little Starrett edge finder, and then what I'm going to do is put my Starrett mag backed indicator down here on the knee and use that to move the spindle to the center. Okay, there's the edge. Alright, so that's a 200. This measures 0.200. That's the diameter of the edge finder. So you got to take half of that out of the equation, the 100,000ths. So what we're going to do is move the table over 0.562 minus 100,000. So we're going to be moving it 0.462. So let me, I got to put a little preload on my indicator here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 50, and 62. Alright, so that will be the center of the shaft there. I'm going to loosen up the vise. Okay. It's not much. I'm just going to use the cutter here. Trying to get it turned to where there's no rocking, and that feels like it's it right there. Snug the vise back up. It feels good. Okay. Hey, one more thing I want to point out. This is one of them cutters I got from the flea market. I think I paid $1 for it, something like that. There was a few of them that I grabbed. Alright, so what I'll do is come down here to the end. And I set it close. I'm going to feed up till I just touch the bottom. Alright, feel something there. Okay, there we go. Really all we're doing is we're trimming the sides, and right there where it's cutting, it's cutting the bottom also. Alright, I think we're through it. Yeah, it cleaned it up nice. There's a piece of 1/4" key stock. It's going through there. It's got a little, right there at the end of the weld, it's got a little tight spot. But I'll dress it with a file. But that's okay. I mean, you can tap it down in there with a rawhide hammer, which is how you want your keys to fit, especially like on pump parts and couplings. You don't want it rocking back and forth on the keyway. You want the keys to be a little snug. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the shop. Another episode of S&S. That's Tom Lipton beeping me on the computer.